down to business.
When he drinks, he thinks.
That's the nectar of the gods, baby.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the #1 liquid-fueled, liquid-lubricated show on the interwebs. This is the Whiskey Musings Broadcast. We've got a big weekend this weekend. It is a 3-day weekend. It is for Memorial Day. And yes, I already see in the chat, I've got some people who are taking a little bit of a offense to the question that I posed in the title of the video. But, just hear me out. Okay. Hear me out. Before you go and crucify me. So the first things first, I just want to get kind of the Memorial Day type thing out of the way. Now, last year, Memorial Day, if I remember correctly, I believe the episode landed on Memorial Day. And so I did this really big thing, this really big special with regards to the cost of war. And I encourage you to go back, 50, I think it's episode 54. So I encourage you to go back, take a look at that. And just understand there is some, shall we say, adult imagery and videos. So, and I do throw a warning out before I show those. But it's really important for us to understand how bad war can actually be. Because to be completely honest, I don't think anyone who has not been in the fire can actually sit here and talk about what the experience is like. And, yeah, I see, buddy. I see. We're good. We're good. You and I we're good. So, unless you've actually been in the fire itself, you cannot imagine what this does to a person. And there's a great book out that talks about it. Dan Bongino actually put me on it. And it's called I believe it's called The Cost of War. And it has something to do. Well, wait a minute. Before I go and totally mess this up, give me just a second. I gotta find this book title. I really do. Whoops. Did too many. Hold on. Let me find this book title for you because it's really important. Like Dan says, it's not important to be first, but it is important to be accurate. And I know from my perspective, I want to be accurate. I definitely want to be accurate. So let me grab the book title. Oh, here we go. And the book title is On Killing, the Psychological Cost of Learning to Kill in War and Society. And it's by David Grossman. Like I said, go back and take a look at episode 54. I do a discussion about it. And it's really important, I think, for everyone to understand what is going on inside the mind of someone who goes, because again, with the horrific events that happened in Uvalde, Texas, and the armchair quarterbacks that you see everybody worrying about, or talking about the police and how they didn't do what they were supposed to do. There is a huge psychological effect that I think a lot of people don't understand when it comes to knowing about going in, when you know about going in to either a battle situation or a high stress situation. And it's something that you cannot describe and you cannot accurately put out there unless you've actually lived it. Now, I haven't lived it. I'm going to be completely honest with you that I have not lived it. And I know that there are psychological costs that go along with it. Some people are able to move past it. Others are not. And it can be really, really difficult. Now, you talk about Memorial Day, and Memorial Day started off as a remembrance day, and it was a day to remember, in particular, the troops. And it kind of started as a tradition around the Civil War time, right after the Civil War, was remembering the people who had died in the Civil War. And then, of course, World War I was added. And then next thing you know, we called it Memorial Day. We added World War II. And now we pretty much have expanded it to just cover anyone who has given their life in service of their country. And it's really important to understand that those lives that were given to us, they were given to us for a purpose, and that was for us to be able to live freely, for us to be able to live in the country that we now have. And a lot of us, and by a lot of us, I mean those of us who don't remember this, but a lot of people go through the weekend and they think, oh, great, it's a 3-day weekend, and they cook their hot dogs and their burgers and, have the great, all of this stuff that they don't necessarily take into account and understand the cost of war. And one of the things that I wanted to do, and this is what I did on my last episode, episode 54, was because of the fact that, we need to seriously look at this and remember. And we need to take in the seriousness of the loss that is being felt by everyone who has lost a loved one in war. And also understand that those people have passed down to us, and it is entrusted to us to be faithful and to carry forward the lesson learned and the gift that we've been given in the way of freedom. Now, for those of you that may not know, Memorial Day is the one and only day where the flag is in the morning set at half staff, and it stays at half staff only until noon. And then at noon, it is raised to full staff for the rest of the day. That is the only day of the year that when the flag is flown at half staff, that it doesn't stay there all day. And it has to be at noon. And I'm going to tell you right now, I have my flagpole out. I'm hoping that the weather is good enough that I'll be able to fly my big 9x5 flag. And the reason why I say that is because that 9x5 flag is a ceremonial flag. It is not designed to be flown in inclement weather. And so I am hoping that my locale will allow me to fly that flag. But that flag flies on special days like Memorial Day. And it flies for, in an example of, and so it's a symbol to demonstrate the enormity of the day. And I put it up, I put it on half mast, and then I bring it up to noon, bring it up at noon. And then at night I bring it back in and I fold it up the way I'm supposed to. There's a couple other things that you'll probably see on Memorial Day. And I want to show you one of them now. You may run around and see something like this. And this is essentially, it's called the Fallen Soldiers Table. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about this. I did this in episode 54 also, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about this. And with the Fallen Soldiers Table, there's a couple different versions of this. I'm just going to give you the one version that was here. So, or one version of it. So the Fallen Soldiers Table is for those who have served. And honestly, it's also representing for those that are currently serving, the ones that are missed at the table. But the thing is that in terms of the ones that have served and have died and are never coming back, you have the white tablecloth, which is to represent peace. you have the flag that's folded onto the plate to represent the missing soldier. Okay. You have a single rose generally. Sometimes it might be a poppy, but it's typically a red flower. And the red flower is to signify the blood that was shed for our freedom. There's typically a slice of lemon, and that lemon signifies their bitter fate, meaning they've passed on. Then you'll have some salt there, and that is to remind us of the many countless tears that have been cried from the families. And then you have the glass that is inverted on the table, and that is because they can't drink with us tonight. And the chair is empty, obviously, because they are not there. And the whole table is there to remind us that we cannot forget the sacrifices of those and their families, of those lives that have been lost. Don't ever try and upset this table. Even, I mean, not saying that anybody would, but realistically, don't ever try and upset this table. Okay. Anyway, so Memorial Day, that's one of the things that you'll be seeing. And again, take some time to go out and visit, maybe visit some local graves some local cemeteries and some local graves. There's actually a thing that's running around on the internet. I don't know how true this is, but it seems kind of cool. If you go and visit a grave of a soldier who has died, leave a penny, and that it signifies that you've been there. If you happen to have served with the person, then you can leave like a dime, I think it's a nickel. If you were actually in their unit, it's a dime. And if you were there when that person died, it's a quarter. So, yeah. So, do me a favor and please, if you watch this program, please just take the extra minute to say a prayer. Maybe when you come across that table, say an extra prayer for the souls that have been lost. And we need to get this country back to the idea of, what Memorial Day actually is, not just a 3-day weekend to open up the barbecue season, but the real reason for Memorial Day is to remember those who have lost their lives in service to this country and defending the freedoms which we enjoy to be able to barbecue. One last thing that I want to do before I get the show really started. Actually, there's two things there's one that I'm owing somebody. And don't worry, I got you on my mind. Haven't forgot, but it's going to be later. Okay. But the other thing I want to do is really important for me. And that is, if you'll bear with me, we're going to take a moment of silence, while I play taps. So, give me just a second to get set up, and I'm going to go ahead and get out of the way. And so do me a favor and, take off your hat, bow your head, and take this minute, because taps actually is exactly 1 minute long, to pray for the soldiers that have been lost, that have given their lives for our freedom. Okay. Thank you for that. And of course, we always support our soldiers. We give them a salute whenever we can. We always say a prayer for them whenever we can. All right. So let's get on with the show. Where am I at here? Okay. All right. Tonight is brought to you by my affiliate, the Institute on the Constitution. The Institute on the Constitution was established in 2004 as a 501c3 nonprofit with one mission, one singular mission, to restore the constitutional republic through grassroots education. All courses and materials are developed using primary source documents and taught from the American view of law and government, as defined in the Declaration of Independence in the following 3 key points. 1, there is a God. 2, our rights come from him. And 3, the purpose of civil government is to secure and protect our God-given rights. The IOTC offers the opportunity to educate yourself on our most precious founding document, the Constitution of the United States. They also provide tools to educate your community and get involved with local government. Start by taking their free U.S. Constitution course and go from there. Use my affiliate link, IOTC, that's India Oscar Tango Charlie .whiskeymusings, all one word, .online, to sign up. And while you are there, take a moment to look through their other course material and information. Other course material and information meaning this wonderful Saddleback leather Constitution of the United States. It is absolutely fabulous. It's got wonderful stitching, and it comes with a 100-year guarantee from the maker, from the Saddleback leather maker. Saddleback Leather Company. So, I lost my spot. Hold on. Okay. My affiliate link, once again, is iotc.whiskeymusings.online to get great content to learn about our historical founding and support the show in the process. That's iotc.whiskeymusings.online. Or if you just want to purchase this fabulous Saddleback leather-bound U.S. Constitution to support the show, go to constitution, all lowercase, all one word, .whiskeymusings, all lowercase, all one word, .online, to get redirected directly to the page where you can buy this. And go check them out today. Thank you to the Institute on the Constitution for allowing me to be an affiliate. Okay. And in fact, if you have this wonderful little book, or any Constitution, I'm actually going to be referring to a couple of pages in here during the show. So you might want to go take a second and get that handy. And now we are going to move on to our next segment. On this day in American history. And of course, because this weekend is Memorial Day weekend and it's not falling on Memorial Day, I'm going to go ahead and jump ahead to May 30th to talk about Memorial Day. Now, this is coming directly from the American Patriots Almanac. Ooh, I got to get that right. The American Patriots Almanac. It is a great book. If you get a chance, jump right in, buy it. It has got wonderful daily reminders of our American history. And of course, I read from it as a part of the segment every Saturday for sure, Wednesday occasionally. But tonight we're going to talk about Memorial Day. And of course, Memorial Day is on the 30th of May. So Memorial Day, the last Monday of May, in this case, it lands on the 30th, is the day we honor Americans who gave their lives in military service. This holiday was originally called Decoration Day and honored the soldiers who had died during the Civil War. Immediately after the war, various towns in the north and the south began to set aside days to decorate soldiers' graves with flowers and flags. Those earliest memorial observances occurred in Waterloo, New York, Columbus, Mississippi, Richmond, Virginia, Carbondale, Illinois, Boalsburg, Pennsylvania, and several other places. The first widespread observance of Decoration Day came on May 30th, 1868, which Major General John A. Logan proclaimed as a day to honor the dead. General James Garfield, later the 20th U.S. President, gave a speech at Arlington National Cemetery in remembrance of all the fallen soldiers, saying that, quote, "For love of country they accepted death, and thus resolved all doubts, and made immortal their patriotism and their virtue." Afterward, 5,000 people helped decorate the graves of more than 20,000 Union and Confederate soldiers. Over the years, the day became an occasion to remember the dead in all American wars and came to be known as Memorial Day. On the Thursday before Memorial Day, a tradition known as Flags In, the soldiers of the 3rd U.S. Infantry place small flags before more than 250,000 gravestones at Arlington National Cemetery. Then they patrol 24 hours a day to make sure each flag remains standing throughout the weekend. On Memorial Day, the president or vice president lays a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier in the cemetery. According to U.S. Flag Code, American flags should be flown at half staff until noon on Memorial Day, then raised to the top of the pole. At 3 p.m. local time, all Americans are asked to pause for a moment of remembrance. And that is tonight's On This Day in American History. I forgot about the 3 o'clock part. I'm going to tell you that right now. I forgot about that. So it's a good reminder. And speaking of reminders, it is a great reminder for those of you who may have not necessarily studied the Constitution and may not quite fully understand our history, that I made a bit of an announcement a while ago. I talked about this a little bit, and now I'm actually going to make this into a thing. However, I need your help. So do me a favor. If you are interested in this, if you are interested in learning about the Constitution in a 12-week course, and by course, I'm talking this is going to be a virtual class. I imagine these are going to be roughly an hour to maybe 2 hours long, depending upon how many people attend and how many questions we get. It is through the IOTC. If you recall, I announced several weeks ago, it might even been a couple of months ago that I was discussing this, that I got a hold of the instructor's manual for the Constitution course. And now I am basically announcing this. I'd like to start that up. Now, I would really like to know if any of you who are watching are interested. So do me a favor. If you are interested, send me an email to my fans email. Fans, F-A-N-S, .whiskeymusings.online if you are interested in attending. My guess is we will be, at least at this point, we will be getting together once a week, and there will be some homework for you to do on your own. And I will be providing the majority of the materials with the exception of the student handbook. Now, you can get the student handbook from the Institute on the Constitution. If you follow that iotc.whiskeymusings.online and go and find the Constitution class student handbook, you can buy just the handbook, or you can go ahead and get, there's some additional materials that are part of the kit as well. One of them being the Constitution book that I show here. But if you decide not to do that and just want the student manual, I think the student manual is $10. And if you use that link to get there, obviously there will be a slight kickback to the show for supporting the show. I am thinking of getting it started just after Independence Day. So right after July 4th. But of course, that depends on interest. It also depends on what you folks decide, because I want to make myself available. Obviously, Wednesday night and Saturday night are out, so I'm thinking of one other day throughout the week that, and it'll have to be in the afternoon, evening time to go ahead and jump in. But if you're interested, do me a favor, send me an email to fans.whiskeymusings.online. The link is in the description of the video for the fans email. And just let me know if you're interested. If I get more than a couple of people, then we'll go ahead and kick it off. If I only get, one, then probably won't happen. But if I at least probably get like 2 or 3, I'll probably kick it off and we'll see what goes on. So I wanted to bring that up to you because of course it is important when somebody says something and says they're going to do something, they're going to, obviously I want to make sure that my integrity is without question. And so Mama just popped up. What's that email again? So let me just say that again. It is fans, FANS, at whiskeymusings.online. Sorry, I said dot, I meant at. Fans at whiskeymusings, all one word, .online. And basically this is it right here. Thank you. ADIG. Fans at, not dot, but at. I said dot and I didn't mean dot. I meant at. Fans at whiskeymusings.online is where it is. Okay. So send me that email, and let me know if you are interested and if you're willing to do something. It will be, because I'm on Pacific time, it's going to be like, later in the afternoon, but we'll go with that. So just let me know if you're interested and we'll see what we can do. I highly suggest that if you are interested, probably within a couple of weeks, within the next couple of weeks, consider reaching out and purchasing the student manual so that we can go through it. It is a 12-lesson course. I plan on doing it for a week, for each week. So it'll basically be 12 weeks. It'll take roughly 3 months to complete. And it's this right here. That's the email, fans at whiskeymusings.online. And speaking about that, I actually have had some people send me some stuff. This background right here was contributed by our friendly Mr. Buddy, and I appreciate that, among a bunch of others that you will probably see as I rotate through them. He also has contributed a couple of other things, patriotic things, which of course I welcome. I do appreciate any and all communications. I read everything. I may not respond right away, but I do read everything. And I appreciate everything that I'm getting from you guys. So if you feel the need to send me an email, if you have a suggestion for the show, if you have, even just a photo or something like that, you can go ahead and send it to me. And in fact, I have something else from Buddy as well that I will probably pop up in the next week or so, the next couple of episodes that I think is going to be kind of cool. All right. So one of the things that and just so you know, I try to utilize some of the products that I push. I mean, obviously I've got, the Constitution of the United States. I went ahead and got this beforehand. I like it. It's great. And I love this. I've got actually several of the Constitution, just like I have several of the Bible. I've got different versions, different variations, things like that. And hey, I just saw something here. This is a great little comment. What a dope hat. Thank you. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. This was actually a gift to me from my son. I had wanted one for a while, and he happened to run down and run into a place that was selling them. The funny thing is he bought another hat that had American colors on it, which you've seen regularly. It is the other hat that I wear in this show. And yeah, so I swap them out, but I prefer the other one because it's not quite as heavy as this. This is a little bit heavier. It doesn't have quite as much breathing room. And when you have a lot of hair on your head, that does tend to be a bit of a issue. But the other hat that you see, that is actually his hat that I wear. I borrow and wear. I like to put a little bit of Americana in my shows. So Anyway, all right. I was reading a book, and one of the things that has been fascinating for me, honestly, is this idea that the county sheriff is the only constitutionally authorized law enforcement officer in the land. And I still haven't quite figured out exactly where this comes from. But I can tell you, I got this book. This is also on the IOTC website as well. And you can, of course, go and get it. It is a America's Last Hope, the county sheriff, America's Last Hope. And it's written by Sheriff Richard Mack. He was a sheriff, ironically, that was in Arizona. And he was the first person, the first sheriff to actually challenge the 1994 Brady Bill in court. And he tells about it in the book. I'm not going to necessarily go through it right now. You can kind of check it out. But he challenged it in court, challenged the Brady Bill in court, and started the process for several other counties to actually come on board and fight against the Brady Bill in terms of the enforcement of it. Because in his case, and no, I am not giving up my hat. All right. You guys are, you're funny. I'm watching you over here. I can see this. I'm not giving up the hat. But anyway, to get back to this, he started the whole process to fight against the 1994 Brady Bill. And, you know, in this particular book, he talks a lot about the oath of office that he took. And that actually got me thinking a lot. And I'm going to tell you right now too, that there's several other books that are out there. If you're interested, if you don't want to take that class or whatever, I do encourage you to go and take a look. I just got these today, so I haven't actually read them, but this one here is How to Read the Constitution in 30 Days. And this is by Paul Engel, or Engel, I guess. I don't know how to really pronounce it. And then I also have this book. And by the way, this little book, this one's How to Read the Constitution in 30 Days. This isn't that big. I'm probably going to read this within a couple of weeks if I can get some time to set aside to do it. But this one here is actually even by also by Paul. This one is the Constitution Study, and this one is much thicker, much thicker. So I'm going to be reading through a lot of these because I'll be honest with you, after reading that discussion on America's Last Hope on the county sheriff, I realized that while I am a little more versed in the Constitution than most, I am definitely not what he calls, or what could be considered, a constitutional scholar. Paul kind of mentions that. He says that the constitutional scholar is someone who studies the Constitution, and you don't need to be like a multi-degreed, high IQ'd kind of person, because you can pick up different references. Yes, it was written in 18th century English, but as you'll see, if you go through the Constitution course, they reference the 18, I can't remember right off the top of my head, but it's Noah Webster's dictionary. I think it's 1889 or 1898. And so that is, it's crucial to sit and cross-reference. And for those of you who think of the Constitution are like, oh my gosh, it's just way too hard for me to understand and to cross-reference that's part of what I am intending on doing, is doing a lot of the research and helping to pass it along to you guys as we go along. And also the other thing is that not everybody can read the original scripts in terms of the Bible. And the Bible's been rewritten and translated and everything else. You've got the King James Version. You've got the American Standard Version. You've got the English Standard Version. You've got the Berean Bible. I mean, I didn't even know that the Berean Bible existed. But I went through I actually have 4 or 5 different versions, the New International Version. I've got 4 or 5 different versions of the Bible. And what I do is I cross-reference and bounce. When I'm studying, I cross-reference and bounce phrases and key points within the Bible off one another so that I can get a what I would consider a more holistic view of what the meaning actually is. And I'm planning on doing the exact same thing for the Constitution. And the Constitution was originally written, as Buddy brings out this point here, is that the Constitution was written for common citizens to be able to understand. And that's why it's not that long. I mean, it's only about 8,000 words. So it's really not that long of a document. I mean, you can see within this book, there really isn't that much in terms of paper. And even on the inside, you can take a look and see that it's not really written that there's not a whole heck of a lot here. So, to be honest, the Constitution to me is a book that needs to be read, reread. And yes, I failed at it. But it needs to be reread, understood, analyzed, just like a Bible would be. And, some people would say that, okay, you're referencing the Bible and saying that could be like some kind of blasphemy, to be honest with you. I don't believe so, because I believe that the Bible itself is very important for us to understand God's word and God's laws, and especially to understand America's Judeo-Christian roots with regards to the Constitution, because the Bible was the number one reference book that the framers focused on. So I need to make sure that everybody understands that the Constitution, in order for us to get back to our roots, we need to study the Constitution. We need to pass on the Constitution. And that's why I feel like it is my push to bring some learning and some basic understanding and education to the Constitution, which is why I'm kicking off that class. I believe in what the founders said. I believe that our country is the best country that has ever graced this planet. And even with all of her faults, we still have a chance to save it if we all band together and fight for it. And by fight, I don't mean physically fight, but I mean fight to educate, to teach, to learn, to understand, to know, to really get what is in this document, one of the most famous documents. And it is an incredible, they call it the American experiment because of the fact that there's not any other government that is like this. There is not any other government that is like ours. There have been several recreations of it, but to be honest, the part of the reason that it's failed other places is because of the fact that it lives through the hearts and the minds of the people who read, understand, and enact what is in it. And this is very, very important to tonight's discussion, okay? Because of the fact that one of the things that is out there has to deal with integrity. And integrity is doing what you say you're going to do, regardless of who might be watching, regardless of who or what might be going on. You have to have integrity within yourself to be able to say, hey, I not only talk the talk, but I walk the walk. And unfortunately, a lot of our politicians have gotten away from that. They have gotten away from the idea of understanding what their oath of office actually is. And in reference to the oath of office, and again, like I said, the constitutional sheriff, the sheriff being the savior of it, all of the sheriffs take an oath of office. I talked about an oath of office back a couple episodes ago when I was telling you about the enlisted man's oath. I state my name, do solemnly swear to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, both foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to same, and that I will obey the lawful orders of the President of the United States and any of the other officers appointed over me, in accordance with the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help me God. That's pretty much, maybe not exactly word for word, but that's pretty much the oath of office that I took when I entered the Army. And what was interesting is, we look at this and we think about this because on Inauguration Day, the president stands in front of everyone, places his hand on either the Bible or, whatever kind of book that they want, and they hold their hand up and they swear to something very similar to that. And in fact, if you want the actual words, take a look inside your Constitution. And we go under Article 1, Section... Hang on, I'm coming up. I got to find it again here because okay. Oh, no, not Article 1. My bad. Sorry. Article 2. My bad. Article 2, because Article 1 covers Congress. Article 2 covers the president. And it's Article 2, Section... here we go. Article 2, Section 1, toward the end. The Constitution states, before he enter on the execution of his office, he shall take the following oath or affirmation. Quote, I do solemnly swear or affirm that I will faithfully execute the office of the President of the United States and will do so to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. Okay? That's what he says. That's what the president is supposed to say. And that's what they do on Inauguration Day. But here's the thing. You have to have integrity in order to understand what that oath actually means and to actually follow it. To actually get in and do what you say you are going to do by putting your hand up. Now, the other thing that's kind of interesting is I actually looked back at Article 1 because I thought, okay, what happens with our all of our elected representatives, like the House of Representatives and the senators and so on and so forth? Do they have to do this? Because, they should. And there is some talk about an oath of office with them. And the funny thing is that it actually shows up in Article 6. Article 6 states at the very end, the last paragraph, the senators and representatives before mentioned and the members of the several state legislatures and all executive and judicial officers, that's where the sheriffs come in, both of the United States and of the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution. And then it says, but no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. So in other words, they need to be bound by an oath to the Constitution to support it, but it's not a religious thing. And this is where I think we need to remind our representatives. We need to remind them that they actually took an oath to support the Constitution. By support, that doesn't mean undermine it. That doesn't mean to go and write laws that are against it. And that's what Sheriff Mack was talking about in that book. What he was saying is that, regardless of what the situation is, when you take that oath of office, you are basically promising that you will support and defend that Constitution, that you will support it in all ways, shape, or form. You say that you will support, that you believe in it, and that you will support it. And so any of these laws that these senators are pushing for things like taking away your right to firearms or taking away the freedom of speech, they are literally violating the oath that they swore on the moment that they entered office. And it's not that I expect necessarily that a politician won't lie, because that's what they do, unfortunately. But the key here is that we need to elect politicians. We need to elect people with the integrity to be able to stand up and say that I solemnly swear to protect and defend the Constitution, that I will support the Constitution, that I will follow the Constitution. And it's not so much that we need to follow the Constitution until the Supreme Court changes the definition of the Constitution, because realistically, being a constitutional scholar and reading the Constitution and understanding what it says and understanding the purpose of it from our framers, from the documents that we have available to us, from sitting down and reading things like the Federalist Papers and the Anti-Federalist Papers, to understand and recognize that the Constitution was written at a time where they just overthrew a tyrannical government, and that several of the first 10 amendments, called the Bill of Rights, are directly related to the fact that these were atrocities that were performed prior to the revolution, prior to the war that gained our independence. And a lot of people tend to forget that. A lot of people tend to forget the fact that this was written with the idea and the fresh memory of what the British government and the British king and the British army tried to do to us as a people. And this is why this is so important. There are so many things in there. If you go through and read through the first 10 amendments, things like the Fifth Amendment, which everybody laughs about because, you see it on legal stands. Somebody says, hey, I'm going to take the Fifth on that. That is probably one of the more well-known, the First, the Second, and the Fifth. But even understanding the First Amendment, we immediately assume that to be freedom of the religion, of the press, and of speech. But there's a couple other things in there too, like a redress of grievances to our government that are not so well known. And this is part of the reason why studying the Constitution, I actually think is going to assist, not necessarily be the causal, but assist to enhance our education and our understanding of the foundational documents that created this country and create the wonderful place that we live in. There are opponents out there who are saying that the Constitution was racist, that the Constitution itself was written by slave owners and therefore slavery is the bad thing. But what they don't understand is the phraseology that was used, not only in the Declaration of Independence, but also in the Constitution, set the foundation to allow this country to do wonderful things, such as free the slaves, to provide for equal protection under the law, to add amendments such as the women's suffrage movement. You need to look at it not so much as when it was written, but also understand that it set the foundation to do a absolutely wonderful thing here within the borders of this country. And that even though we have some arguably bad points in our history, the point that I'm making is that the Constitution was set forth to set the foundation to allow us down the road 250 years later to be able to continue the work that the founding fathers started. See, if you think of the Constitution as, and the founding fathers as the pebble that gets dropped into the pond, and that pond, the ripples start going out. The surface of the water is forever changed because of that pebble. That pebble set the foundation and set the waves in motion to go throughout time to spread the idea of freedom, liberty, and justice throughout not only the country, but the world. And we've gotten away from that, starting with the idea of losing our integrity. Because if you also think about it, we also have the Pledge of Allegiance. The founding fathers know and knew that people, humans by themselves, are fallible, but that they also believed that the human spirit, although was imperfect, continually strived to that perfection, to be perfect. And one way to do that was to create the oath and to basically say that you, as an individual, solemnly swear that you're going to do what you say you're going to do. And that's called integrity. And to me, this is one way of where we start to take back this country and put it back on its course, to put it back to where our founders meant it to be, and for us to move forward. And the way that we do that, believe it or not, is through education and understanding and spreading the word. So right now, I'm doing my part to stand up and to start to spread the word and to study with others who are all a part of my America. That's what the class is for. That's what this is all about. That's what I think this show really is going to do as a continual sub-theme. I am not going to be dissuaded from spreading the word about the greatest country that has ever graced the face of this earth. Now, Buddy actually brings this up. You know what? Buddy, Red Skelton. You know what? I actually have that, and I've shown that on this program. I've shown it most of the time. It's for the 4th of July. Go back and take a look at it. He did a awesome skit. And it was, Red Skelton, for those that don't understand, he's a comedian, from back in the 50s, I think 40s and 50s. And he was an awesome comedian, just brilliant man when it came to, comedy and comedic relief. And he did a version of the Pledge of Allegiance, and he explained that after he was a small boy, they added the words "under God," and I can't remember exactly what year, but it was in the 50s. They added the term "under God," and yes, it was added at a later date. And the thing that he says on it, and in fact, you know what? If I find that link, you want that video, go ahead, send me an email to fans@whiskeymusings.online, and I'll send you I'll see if I can either send you the video or at least send you a link to where to get it. But yes, the term "under God" was added, and he actually says at the very end, wouldn't it be sad that that somebody comes along and calls the Pledge of Allegiance a prayer and takes it out of schools? Okay. But he tells me it's 1958. So yes, 1958. That was when it was added. And, it's stuff like that. The thing that we need to understand is we've lost integrity. We've lost a bit of ourselves. We've lost our commitment to the oath of office. If you're a peacekeeper, if you are a soldier, if you are a politician, you've got to remember you have to maintain your own internal integrity moving forward. And I try to do that every day, because I've also done a few other episodes on things like the cowboy way. And one of the cowboys' messages to today's people is that you do what must be done. You ride for the brand. And in this case, the brand is America. And there's several other pieces and parts. You can check out that episode too. I think it's, Have We Lost the Cowboy or something like that. I can't remember exactly what I titled it. But anyway, there's a lot to be learned and a lot for us to go back to. But one of the things that we definitely have to try and reclaim is our integrity. And the integrity of the office, the integrity of the trust that is passed on to these politicians. We need to find a way to get that back. And to be honest with you, the only way to get that back is to essentially elect people who are going to stand up for that. And I know it's tough to find. I understand it's tough to find those people, but we need to do it, because if we can't, then yes, America will be ultimately dead. And that's my final Whiskey Musings thought of the evening for that particular topic. However, I did say that I was going to do something for someone, because this particular person has a birthday on Monday, the 30th. So, without further ado, all right. Now, I am not going to use her real name. She did ask me not to, so I am not going to use her real name, but I am going to use her moniker that she uses. So here we go. Let's see if I can do this. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Daybreak 3. Happy birthday to you. There you go. I did it. Told you I would. Integrity. Doing what you say you're going to do. There we go. All right. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining. I do appreciate the time that it takes. Oh, buddy, really? Earplugs? Come on. Oh, my gosh. All right. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. All right. And I hope that you take an extra moment on Monday at 3 p.m. to think about all the lives that have been lost in the name of freedom. And we'll see you next time on the Whiskey Musings broadcast. Good night, everybody.